Free your mind now. Be part of the People's Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
The first person is Professor Alenyo George William from Uganda. If you can kindly, Professor, go up to the podium. You have 10 minutes to discuss your topic, putting in mind, of course, the topic of today being our anniversary of 11 years, and also the 8th Pan-African Pyramid Global Awards, and what Africa can do to make sure that we become a unified Pan-African entity. So without further ado, Professor Alenyo George William, you have the floor now for 10 minutes. Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to rush through my 10 minutes. First of all, because today is a very exciting day in Africa. Let's give ourselves a clap. Right Honorable Speaker, my presentation will be on soft copy in the next few minutes and can be shared. But I have a few hard copies for all the panel discussants and some 3 or 4 pressmen. Right Honorable Speaker, when you gave me the topic, I began to research. And I found that today, the 30th of August, is actually a very special day. Because some years ago, 1897, on the 30th August, 1897, a group of people sat somewhere in Switzerland, Basel, Zionists, and declared they wanted one Zionist state. And they achieved it. 30th August, a day like today. Now 30th August, 2025, Pan-Africanists are here to declare and sign a United States of Africa. And I think it's going to happen. Right Honorable Speaker, that is not the first coincidence. There was another coincidence. That on that day, the 30th August, I think let me do you justice, and I give you the English. Yes. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I was also telling you, maybe.
Gentlemen, at this juncture, let us welcome our chief guest, First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of East African Community Affairs, the Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga. Can you have a round of applause, please? Members, please feel free also to stand. Right Honorable Rebecca, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for coming. At this juncture, I'll hand over, please. Professor, you can go on.
So, Right Honorable Speaker, I was telling you that, Mama, you are welcome. Senior Counsel, you are welcome. I was telling you that today is a very momentous day. I was checking and I found that the 30th August, a few years ago, on the 30th August, a group of Zionists met in Basel, Switzerland, and they resolved to have a Jewish state, and they had it. Then today, 30th August, Pan-Africanists are resolving to have the United States of Africa. I felt that was a wonderful coincidence of days. And I'm fortified that it will succeed. Right, Honorable Speaker, there was another coincidence. The people who were convening to make a state were not government officials. It was a journalist like you. So today, you have also convened here as a journalist to declare the Pan-African state, the United States of Africa. Right, Honorable Speaker, that's not the only coincidence. There was even yet another coincidence. We are supposed to have a banker here, Sudhir Peredia. And at that Basel meeting, there was also a banker, Rothschild. There was a banker. And right, Honorable Speaker, the Pan-African United States of Africa that we want now is not just for the black skin, it's for the white skin, for the Asian skin, but just for the continent of Africa. For a long time, that dream of a Pan-African state has been held back by the Western powers. There's been a gimmick going on. Take a small country like Burundi. The economy of Burundi is like the economy of one street in New York. But the president of Burundi sits like the president of the USA. That has been a gimmick. Because the USA is the whole continent. It has been dividing these small African states. I call it defilement, political defilement. Because Trump, who heads a whole subcontinent, sits with Burundi, which is like a word in New York. We must make Africa one state. The whole of Africa, when it becomes one state, will become a superpower in one day. Because it will be the size of Russia, it will be the size of America, it will be the size of China. And yet in Africa, one country has got the mineral wealth of China. DRC Congo alone, the wealth of DRC Congo is equivalent to the wealth of China. The Jewish community controls the whole world on one product, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. That's why there is a Coca-Cola factory in every state. What about Africa? And do you know that the product that produces Coca-Cola is found in Africa? In Sudan. It's called Gamma Arabica. Google. Israel does not control the world by nuclear weapons alone, but by simple things like Coca-Cola. What about Africa? We can control this world in one day. If you have lived in Europe, every morning the Europeans are craving for a cup of coffee. Not so? The Europeans are craving for a cup of tea. The entire European economy is a chocolate economy. And the chocolate, they don't even produce it. It's produced in Ivory Coast. What, therefore, is Africa's problem? And this Right Honorable Speaker is guided by this topic where we say, why do neo-colonial African leaders stick to the old borders? They stick to the old borders because the presidents we have in Africa now, they have inherited the collaboration with white people. The president of Burundi calls himself commander-in-chief of the Burundian army, does not want to give power to one African state. In 1963, African leaders met in Addis Ababa to unite Africa into one state in one day. Then the question was asked, how many of you presidents of Africa are ready to go back, not as presidents, but as governors of your respective states? All of them refused. Only 2 presidents in Africa said we are ready to relinquish our sovereignty and accept one Africa. One was Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana. The second one was Uganda's president at that time, Obote. The rest refused. Right now, when you talk of African unity, there are people opposed at the president presidents of Africa. Yes. Because they want to remain president of Uganda, commander-in-chief, Manya what? Kagame wants to remain president of Rwanda, control that small colony. So who is going to make the African state? It's you. It is you, the private sector. It's you, the individuals, like the Israelites. It is Israeli individuals, businessmen, private people who declare that we want a state. So if you want an African state, we shall get it. I think, Right Honorable Speaker, we have a book that we have circulated around. And that book, make sure you sign it. It is your declaration for the United States of Africa. And what do we want? I tell you, gentlemen, the problem killing Pan-Africanism is double mouth. Double mouth. What is the difference between the Rwandese and the Ugandan? You people help me. What's the difference? There's no difference. Why can't we be one country? What is the difference between the Burundian and the Ugandan? Can't we be one country? And the Pan-Africanism will solve a problem. If we have one standard army, and Right Honorable Speaker, I want to tell you that there are already armies in Africa that have already come into existence that can unite this continent. The Uganda People's Defense Forces. The Uganda People's Defense Forces is the one controlling the security of South Sudan. Is that not clear? Hello? Is that not true? Without UPDF, Salva Kiir would be overthrown even tomorrow. That's one country. The second country is Somalia. It is the UPDF controlling the security of Somalia. Without UPDF, that government would be overthrown today. Burundi, it's the UPDF controlling Eastern Congo, and then Uganda. Near Central African Republic, UPDF is controlling. There are 6 countries in Africa that UPDF is controlling. Why is Museveni delaying to annex these countries and we declare one African state? It is possible for the UPDF to declare that today we have united Africa by force. It's very possible. UPDF to overrun Juba is a question of hours because Salva Kiir is depending on our army. But what is the problem? President Museveni he tethers. It's better for him to keep President of Uganda alone, then the son can also succeed. Because God has paved the way for African unity. Museveni can unite this country in one day. I think most of you did history. Did you not read in the history books that Germany was united by blood and what? Iron. By Bismarck. So why are presidents? Your Excellencies, the Libyan ambassador, I really thank you. When we see you, we see Gaddafi still alive. We don't know whether your government was part of the governments that killed him, the transitional government. We don't know. But what we know, you are Libyans. You are one people. Today we are also going to sign in that book one declaration, a rejection of the killing of African presidents by NATO. That must be rejected. Last month, there is a head of an African king. You know the story? Which was returned yesterday from France. The king of an African king whose head was cut, kept in the French. But there is a wave affecting this whole country. France is undergoing a renaissance. In 2023, the president of France, and we are glad we have a Pan-Africanist brother, Mutatina. Stand up. Lessefer is our brother. Is he there? Thomas. Thomas has gone out. He's a Pan-Africanist like us. Because not all Frenchmen agree with the colonial policies. You are going to see, you see the tall white man who is here? He's a Frenchman. He's one of us. He's a Pan-Africanist. So, France has returned the head of an African leader
killed 128 years. So the message to you people from Libya, today, 30th August 2025, we are going to sign a declaration for reparation for every African leader in the colonial era or the present era who was killed by the United States of America, by Europe, and by NATO. A few months ago, Belgium, another European nation, returned the tooth of Patrice Lumumba. How long are they going to kill our leaders? And we say nothing. There must be reparations. The other thing is the betrayal of African leaders. Our president talked of the leaders being denied landing in Libya. But I can assure you, after that, there are very many other wars on the African continent. Our own black presidents are fighting on behalf of Americans. As Pan-Africanists, what are we doing fighting in Somalia? Who has told you that Al-Shabaab are terrorists? The West. The same West told us that South Africans who are fighting apartheid were terrorists. If Africa is to get the United States of Africa, we should stop fighting any wars in Africa under the guise of fighting Islamist terrorism. There is no Islamic terrorism. Islam is a religion of peace. Every other thing is a creation of the Western world to divide us. The United States of Africa shall have no religion. Because Right Honorable Speaker and Bishop Maponga will attest to this, we cannot be defined as Christians. Because that's the religion of the Europeans. We cannot be defined as Muslims. But Africa had its own religion, the Kemet religion, in Egypt, which is the one that gave birth to Christianity, is the one that gave birth to Judaism. Bishop, you know very well that why did Moses spend 40 days in the desert? 40 days night, 40 days day. Because the Kemet religion had 40 do's and 40 don'ts. So he spent one night for each do and don't of the Kemet religion. After that, he came out with the 10 commandments and called the religion Judaism. What is there in Mecca? The same black stone that Muhammad picked from Africa is the one they move around. So Africa is the mother of all religions. We shall have our own black religion. Everybody here, you go to your Google and you'll find that it is said that civilization began where? In Africa. Where particularly? In the Nile Valley. In the Nile Valley. So Africa was therefore the first state in the world. And when you see Africa formed into another state as the world ends, then you know that God is addressing the concept of humanity. Because Africa is the home of humanity. By the way, Right Honorable Speaker, I was a student in Nottingham doing my master's. Every time I met a white person, he would look as if he's not a person. To me, my spirit, my soul. But when I met someone from Arab, Middle East, and then certain few non-Caucasian Europeans, I would feel humanity. I tell you, on the face of Africa, there is no race that has got the morality that Africa has. The peace that Africa has. To the extent that God himself, when he wanted the people of Israel to become a nation, he said, you know nothing. First go to Africa and learn. That's why the Israelites were here for 430 years doing what? Learning. Africa is the Alpha and Omega. Right, Honorable Speaker, there is one thing that the African leaders have been betraying us. And when today we are going to sign another declaration, we are going to sign, as you sign for the United States of Africa, you are also going to sign rejecting the export of raw materials, rejecting the export of raw skill.
Yes, Professor, 1 minute remaining.
Yes.
And counting.
Why are African leaders still exporting non-skilled labor to Arabs? That is wrong. Then as I sum my minute, right, Honorable Speaker, how are we going to develop the United States of Africa? Let us go by China. What did China do? China went back to their ancient kingdoms. All these belts and road networks they are making according to their old ancient kingdoms. Africa, we must go back to our ancient kingdoms. The Chwezi kingdom of the Bachwezi. The Kushite kingdom. Yes, actually, East African community should be a reincarnation of the Bachwezi kingdom. And Moses and the father, they know that. But Moses says, we are Bachwezi, we are good people and what. But why don't you unite now?
Free your mind now. Be part of the People's Pan-African Parliament. The Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.